And I've actually never played Morkborg before, so I'm looking forward to giving that a shot. I have a pretty good idea how it's going to go. My character's going to die.
Yeah,
but that's okay.
But it's going to be beautiful.
But that's right. It'll be fun. Hello and welcome to every edition of the Tabletop RPG Talk Show. I'm John.
I'm Jesse.
On today's Loot the Body, we'll be taking a look at Green Dawn Mall, a strange game of exploration.
And on today's Random Encounter, we're going to be interviewing Wet Ink Games, talking about their upcoming Kickstarter. These are the people who brought you Never Going Home and Heckin' Good Doggos.
And of course, our morale check, where we'll be taking a look at the news of the time in the tabletop role-playing game industry. But first, Jesse, what's new?
So it's already May. This year has been going by blazingly fast.
Yeah.
And coming up at the end of June is Free RPG Day.
My favorite day of the year.
So this year has a pretty loaded stack of books. Of course, we've got like Paizo and stuff. Wet Ink Games has some stuff coming out as well. Free League. There's a ton of stuff. You can check out the Free RPG Day website to see previews of whatever's coming, and you can talk to your local RPG shop or comic shop now if they haven't already signed up. I believe there's still time to sign up and make sure that they can have that stuff for you in the community.
Sounds great. The date is June 24th, 2023. Can't wait. It is on my calendar.
How about you, John? What's new?
Well, so I finished recently signing up for all the games that I'm going to be playing at Origins.
Okay.
And I'm going this year with my son, so I actually was pulling double duty in terms of grabbing tickets and signing up for stuff. It's never without hiccups.
Sure.
Right? The servers can only handle so much action, but I made it through. It took about an hour.
Oh man.
To get
But you got signed up?
Tickets for everything, but I'm all signed up. So I'm going to be playing lots of games. I'm going to be playing Achtung Cthulhu.
Nice.
I'm going to be playing Morkborg, The One Ring, Mutant Crawl Classics, Torg, Vaesen, Blade Runner, Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 2nd edition, Nancy Druid, which is the new polymorph game from 9th Level Games.
Sure.
Escape from New York, the role-playing game, which is based on 5th edition from the Everyday Heroes line. And I'll be playing Dread, the game with the Jenga tower.
Oh, yeah, right? Yeah.
And then I'll be ending the con with a game of Never Going Home. So I'm really excited to be interviewing Wet Ink Games, and I had a chance to play Never Going Home at PAX Unplugged for the first time. Loved it. Wanted to have them on the show, and it's going to be how I'm going to end the con.
So it seems maybe to me that there was one game on that list that was not like the others.
Okay.
And I'm curious as to why you picked AD&D over anything else.
Yeah. So AD&D, and it's 2nd edition too. So that is probably the game for me. Well, that's the game that I really started with.
Okay.
And the game for me that has the most nostalgia.
Yeah, you're just going back, play when you can.
Yeah. So it's the only time that I can I played a great game of 2nd edition Dungeons and Dragons last year at Origins, and found the same DM and signed up for another game. It was actually one of the first ones I grabbed because it was such a great game and it was so filled with nostalgia for me. It's not a game that I want to bring to my table or that I would try to convert anybody to play, but man, I'd jump in a heartbeat to play a game of 2nd edition. I love weapon speed,
sure,
casting time, like the crunch. That's, some of that just brings rolling a D10 for initiative, like just some of that stuff really brings back the feels.
Charts on charts.
Yeah, it's great. So I'm looking forward to it. But you're right, it is the one, like everything else is like a newer game.
Yeah.
That probably I haven't done. There's a lot of Free League stuff that I've never played, so I'm gonna cross a lot of those off the list. And I've actually never played Morkborg before. So I'm looking forward to giving that a shot. I have a pretty good idea how it's going to go. My character's going to die.
Yeah,
but that's okay.
But it's going to be beautiful.
That's right. It'll be fun. It'll be fun.
All right, it's time for a morale check. In our morale checks, we take a look at news of the time and things going on in the RPG world. This month, May 2023, Kobold is getting ready for their next Kickstarter, likely going to be a huge success. This Kickstarter is what was previously labeled as Project Black Flag, which is actually their new Kobold Press Tales of the Valiant, which is their sort of competition, future of 5th edition type continuation. Yeah, without being 5th edition.
Right. No, and I think they're trying to, or hoping, I guess, that Wizards falls on its face with 6th edition. Right?
Yeah. So we'll find out next year, and this will likely come out right around the same time.
Yes. Yeah.
Whether or not 1D&D will be successful or not, but if it's not, we're going to have a plethora of other games to enjoy.
Yeah, and I think they're positioning themselves to be, be where Paizo was when Wizards came out with 4th edition.
Yep.
And thinking this is going to be another critical failure for Wizards of the Coast, and we're going to be there to support the game that they abandoned.
Yeah.
And happily take people's money
and honestly, if I had to entrust that, like, sort of what if, and even without that, they make good games and things.
Absolutely.
If I had to trust that what if with anybody, it would probably be Kobold.
Absolutely, they do the best. Probably arguably the best third-party fifth edition stuff. Yeah, without a doubt. So, yeah, I mean, here's hoping. I don't personally feel compelled to buy a new 5th edition player's handbook, no matter how many new bells and whistles and things it has. But there will be some people who, want to be playing a game that is the game that they know, but is still supported and alive. Yeah. And so that's, I think, where Kobold, as long as it's backwards compatible with 5th, which I'm sure it will be, they're positioning themselves, I think, in a smart way. So
I agree.
All right. In other news, Necromancer Games is coming out with the Tome of Essential Horrors. Now, Necromancer Games is famous for their Tome of Horrors. They actually had 4 volumes worth of the Tome of Horrors in the 2000s and the 2010s for 3rd edition and for Pathfinder. So this, as the name suggests, the Tome of Essential Horrors, is their monster book for old school essentials. All right. And you'll remember, too, Necromancer Games has a deal right now where they are supporting old school essentials. They're also supporting Castles and Crusades.
Nice.
Interestingly enough. And then also coming out with 5th edition stuff as well. So those are the 3 games that they are making products for. But this specifically, the Tome of Essential Horrors, is a monster book for old school essentials, and it's in line with their Tome of Horror books that put them on the map. Big fat book, the Tome of Horrors.
Yeah, I remember seeing them.
Yeah, it's kind of the precursor to Kobold Press's Tome of Beasts. Right. I think Kobold Press kind of picked up the ball and ran with it for 5th edition. But back in the 3rd edition era, Necromancer Games was killing it with their Tome of Horrors. So Tome of Essential Horrors coming soon to Kickstarter from Necromancer Games. Check it out.
Paizo is sort of soft re-releasing their player core book and their GM core book for Pathfinder 2nd edition. I feel like it hasn't really been that long since 2nd edition. This feels like, I guess it's not going to have some major changes from the original. So if you miss this, you won't be playing a different game than everybody else. But it does have some small improvements and some light changes. But this feels not quite 3.5-ish. But I guess maybe they're preparing for, again, just like Kobold is preparing for, they're preparing for 1D&D to come out next year. They're getting ahead of the curve. They're sort of polishing up their game. People have been playing this. I think it's been about 2 years now since Pathfinder 2nd edition fully released, and clearly they've gotten a lot of feedback. They're sort of sprucing things up, and they're definitely positioning Pathfinder 2 to be the stepping stone for Starfinder 2nd edition.
Oh yeah,
which definitely. I think maybe would be the actual reason they're doing this.
Yeah. No, and I think you're right. Everybody wants to have when 6th edition is about to come out, when 1D&D is about to come out, everybody wants to have a fresh core book.
Yeah.
that is also coming out right at the same time to fight it out, to duke it out, right? And so this is Paizo saying we're ready. It seems like it's mostly going to be cosmetic changes. I do wonder if some of the changes are probably going to have to do with the OGL controversy.
Yeah.
Changing some words and stuff like that to maybe get away from that and just be in the Creative Commons. Whatever. That kind of stuff. I really don't care. I don't mind buying a new core book, but I want it to be because there's new ideas and something fresh, and I don't want to just literally buy the same old thing. He says as he puts to all the Dungeon Crawl Classic books, I don't want to buy the same book over and over again, unless it's got Errol Otis art on it.
Sure.
Like well, then I do want to buy.
So speaking of alternate art, you're not typically at least for D&D,
right?
Typically a alternate art cover enjoyer,
right?
But with this new re-release of Pathfinder 2nd Edition, there's going to be RPG store, hobby store exclusive sketch covers, similar to the way that WotC does their exclusive covers for brick and mortar hobby stores, just to like incentivize people going there instead of like Barnes and Noble or whatever, which is like super appreciative.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about that?
The sketch covers are pretty. They are. Like I don't like Pathfinder 2nd Edition, but I kind of want to get the sketch cover books. What is that? I don't know what that means. Right? It
means you're a sucker.
Right. Yeah, it means I have an illness. I don't know. But yeah, no, they're really cool. There were the sketch covers for their re-releases coming out that are only at hobby shops. Super cool. If you're going to get the re-release, go to a hobby shop and get the sketch covers, definitely. Yeah. And finally, coming up this summer, after Origins, on July 23rd. July 23rd is DCC Day, Dungeon Crawl Classics Day. It's another great day in the summer to get your RPG on. And this year for DCC Day, Goodman Games is giving away, again, a free adventure pack, which comes with 2 adventures. And then they usually have an exclusive release for DCC Day, or 2 or 3. What they've announced so far is a new Mutant Crawl Classics adventure called Crash of the Titans, which will be a level 3 Mutant Crawl Classics adventure written by Tim Snyder. So great. I'm in.
Yeah.
Loved it. Went down to Baltimore to Games and Stuff. For Dungeon Crawl Classics Day. So I will be there again, Games and Stuff. You'll see me because I think you're the only store around that does it.
Yeah, it seems like it's not really that big of a thing. So just like with Free RPG Day, try to get your local shop to participate in this. It's like a relatively low cost, as far as I'm aware, and it could get more people into the game.
Yeah, and if you're willing to run a game, for your store, a game of Dungeon Crawl Classics or a free RPG game, they're probably more likely to do it because then it becomes a bigger event. So volunteer to, if you really want it at your local hobby shop, say, hey, I'd be willing to run a game if you put this on, kind of barter.
And I know sort of like the secondary market talk is sometimes a little weird, but most of these are exclusive and don't get, the ability to like purchase this online. They're exclusive to that free day. And sometimes they're really fun. Yeah. Sometimes they go for a lot of money afterwards. So.
And so I'll give you an example. Last year, the Cyberpunk Red Quick Start rules.
Yeah.
I forget what they were called, like Easy Mode was what it was called. Easy Mode. Cyberpunk Red Easy Mode. Little did everybody know that was like an exclusive thing that now is only available as a PDF.
Yep.
It's a free PDF, but if you want the physical copy, you had to get it on Free RPG Day. Same thing with Goodman Games. Their exclusive stuff, it quickly disappears, and then you quickly have to pay a lot of money on eBay if you ever want it. So I would rather spend the money on gas and traveling to see friends than the secondary market on eBay to get a module.
Yeah. So it's also really interesting. The Mutant Crawl Classics thing you mentioned was level 3.
Yeah.
A lot of times, for Kickstarters or whatever, for Dungeon Crawl Classics, their level 0 funnels or their level 1.
Yep.
It's really interesting to see a level 3 scenario so you can continue to play your character.
Get into the higher levels.
Yeah,
and like in Dungeon Crawl Classics, level 5 is high level, right? Like you don't really go, much higher than that. There are a couple adventures that are higher than level 5, but not many.
Yeah.
So DCC Day coming up on July 23rd. It's wedged right in between Origins and Gen Con every summer. And so get ready for a summer of role-playing games.
Free Comic Book Day is right around the corner. The month after that, Free RPG Day. The month after that, DCC Day.
Let's go.
A ton of free stuff at the beginning of the summer. I'm curious to know if there's anything you're looking forward to. I know there's a lot of stuff from Free League that I'm looking forward to specifically for Free RPG Day.
Dragonbane Quick Start rules from Free League.
Yes.
What the heck is that? They're it's from the 80s. So
I'd say like sort of re-release of the
it's a re-release of the Scandinavian classic role-playing game. Let's go.
So there's a bunch of stuff coming out this summer. Let us know what you're looking forward to down in the comments below, or send us a line over at everyeditionrpg@gmail.com. You can also find links to all of our socials at everyeditionrpg.com, where there's links to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Patreon, Instagram, Facebook, all that jazz.
And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe, like this video, or hit that bell notification for future episodes. And thanks. Okay, it's time for a random encounter. Today's random encounter, we are speaking with Wet Ink Games' own Brandon and Matt. Hello, guys.
Hello.
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 Can you give us a quick introduction to who you are and what you do at Wet Ink Games?
My name is Matthew Orr. I'm the creative director at Wet Ink Games, which basically means I kind of wrangle all of our talent. We like to work with a lot of artists, a lot of writers. So, taking everything from taking pitches to, saying like this adventure needs more shenanigans, or sorry, artist, you've gone too far, bring it back. All that. That's all the my main contributions are all in that kind of realm of like the what's in between the covers is sort of like what I make myself responsible for
Artist wrangler.
Yeah. Herder of cats, right? I'm Brandon Ayton. I'm the business director of Wet Ink Games, also co-owner with Matt.
Yeah.
And
co-owners.
From a day-to-day, I'm pretty much responsible for making sure all of our books can get in the hands of customers, either through Kickstarter fulfillment, getting our projects organized, laid out, working with graphic designers and everything to get elements that we need in order to keep things moving, keep projects on track. And also dealing with more of the logistics side, so working with our various fulfillment services, dealing with government. What was the word shenanigans, Matt, that you had?
I mean shenanigans was a good thing in my context, so you may not want to use it.
In my context, it could be hit or miss, and getting things to to our printers and handling most of the logistics stuff. I do a good. A good bit of design work as well, and chiming in when asked and sometimes when not. And I know what I like and I know what I don't like, and I'm not quiet about it.
Awesome. Well, it's great to have both of you here. Of course, the reason we have you here is because Wet Ink Games is about to have a Kickstarter for Never Going Home for some source books. So what can you tell us about the new Kickstarter that's coming up?
Yeah, well, I'll kick off a little bit about the timing and stuff. So we have starting on Tuesday, May 9th, we're kicking off a Kickstarter for Never Going Home. The campaign is called Never Going Home, The Beginning and the End. I'll let Matt talk a little bit about that. But this adds a couple of new campaign dossiers. If you followed Never Going Home, our game of eldritch horror in the trenches of World War I, we've had a couple of campaigns for it. Our last one was some campaign books. This is adding a couple more, and then additional, spookiness and magic and stuff. Matt can definitely fill in a lot of those details in a very interesting way.
I mean, yeah, as I said before, like as far as the making myself responsible for what's between the covers of all of our books, like I'm the one who's like, all right, Steven, I want you to write this, and I want it to be this level of creepy, and then work with these 3 other people, and that's going to be the 1914 book. And so working with obviously other people, and like the idea being that this is as my sister is Brandon's wife, so like that I think the very beginnings of this idea was after Gen Con last year. She was like, let's do cloak and dagger stuff for 1914 leading up to the World War, the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand. And I'm like, that is a great idea, we will do that.
Nice.
And so getting the team together who could pull that off and make it happen. So like in the Never Going Home setting, it's World War I, obviously. Like the Battle of the Somme is sort of the break point between like where things aren't that weird and when things start to get really weird. So obviously setting a book in 1914 is years before that. Mm-hmm. So like toning down on the supernatural and getting that sort of like everything is secrets, everything is unknown, like you don't have any magic resources in and of yourself as your player characters. What's going to prevent you from using the default rules of the setting to just get yourself powerful? It's like, well, here's some other rules that make sense for you within this particular context not to do that. So we've got an alarm mechanic that comes in where it's like you make too much noise and like you get caught, you get noticed. Nice. Like that's not what you want to do when you're trying to kill the governor of Bosnia. So
inspired by Metal Gear, right?
Oh god.
There's
just walk around a cardboard box.
I mean, it's not a circle, but there's overlap.
Sure,
around doing stuff. There's a lot of scenes at night and scenes in creepy hallways and secrets discovered and things like that.
Sure.
I don't know if you want me to keep going.
So the 1914 book is Cloak and Dagger. How about what makes the 1918 book unique, or what's its focus?
Well, so the 1918 book will focus on the Americans, and they arrived in force after America. They didn't arrive. I think the war was America went to war officially in 1917, but the American troops didn't start to really arrive until spring 1918. So that's that last 6 months of the war, basically between spring and fall of 1918. The Americans show up. They're fresh on the scene. They haven't been being harassed by monsters for 3 years, so they're just there to make a big mess, and they do. And it's just sort of you will follow the American force as they kind of just throw a lot of weight and energy against the supernatural horrors and make a big mess out of basically everything that they touch, because they're not there to be delicate in their operations. It's exactly the opposite of the 1914 book. It's there to show up in force and fire a bunch of guns and make a big mess. And so there's a lot of ways to play that as well, where you've got new whisper paths that sort of give you that self-destruction powers that the game already kind of deals in. The resources are not necessarily as tight because, again, the America is putting the force into the war to try and end it. And so it's a different historical context. And so it's hopefully plays a little bit differently. It's sort of more about the sort of it depends, I guess. I think we ended up focusing a little bit more on the mess that the Americans make than the heroics of it, because that's kind of our bag with the whole game line.
Sure.
But the entire game line is it's a mess.
Right, it's a mess. The Americans show up and enter into a mess, and it doesn't get better. It just gets more messy. Is kind of the idea behind the 1918 book.
All right. So what about the? What about the?
And what I was going to say is we bookended these things 1914 and 18. Mm-hmm. The previous campaign was 1915, 16, and 17. Mm-hmm. All these different theaters. So, and those will all be available in the with the other books and stuff in the Kickstarter. But
nice.
We can talk about that in a little bit. But that's just bookending some of the stuff that's already been there, because people were asking about that. Hey, well, what are you guys planning for this? Or do you guys have any thoughts about this? And that's this because this era in gaming is generally been neglected compared to some other historical eras in historical gaming. The idea is there's not a risk of running out of ideas anytime soon.
It's fertile. Yeah.
Very much so.
Absolutely. Cool. So we've talked about it a little bit already and used some of the lingo, but let's talk about the system, the +1 system. Yeah. What's the elevator pitch for the +1 system? What makes it unique or different? Why should someone who has, lots of options out there play Wet Ink Games +1 system?
Someone who has an entire wall of game books behind
I'm just, Hey, you already got me. I'm playing Never Going Home. I mean,
you're not the only one that has a huge wall of books.
Sure.
So as Matt and I, co-designed this system, and through various things of again, I know what I like and I know what I don't like. Matt's the same way, and we definitely wanted to have a kind of streamlined, lighter system, and there is a certain level of crunchiness depending on what version of +1 you're using. However, we wanted to have a system that could be used for various settings and themes, and we wanted it to be super accessible. So these were all decisions that we made as gamers and consumers, which inspired our producer decisions. So our production decisions. So for example, in the +1 system, every +1 game uses standard 6-sided dice and standard playing cards. We wanted anyone to be able to, go to their grandma's house and go to the junk drawer and be able to pull out everything they need to play this game, right?
Yep.
Raid your Yahtzee set, and you have your 5 6-sided dice. Great. And we generally try to price all of our +1 games at a price point which is easily accessible, because as anyone who's been in this hobby, especially for any period of time, it gets to a point where it's not an inexpensive hobby. Some consider it a luxury hobby. Well, if you're a kid who is working on a very restricted budget, we want you to be able to play our games and have access to our games. And so the +1 system mechanically is always the dice mechanics are always going to be the same. So whether you play Never Going Home, or you play Tenebria, or whether you play Heckin' Good Doggos, or whatever game that you play, if you've learned the dice mechanics, you're pretty much on board for any +1 game. The card mechanics can fluctuate from game to game. Some games may use a very similar version of the card mechanics. Some may be drastically different. So for Never Going Home, your cards represent your humanity, and you can spend them to get certain abilities. And Tenebria, cards represent resources which are used to improve a town, and some as you're doing some civilization or city building in the game. And in Psychic Kids, they represent psychic energy and things like that. So there's always fun ways that we can explore in the design space just using cards. We have an upcoming game where it almost kind of makes a little bored, but
cool.
I'll hold on to that nugget for future interview. How about that?
That's the next interview.
Nice teaser.
Yeah.
Great.
Matt, did you have any thoughts there too?
Yeah, I mean, I plenty of games use either cards or a D6 dice pool, and so right. I think the number one innovation is putting the two together and having these two kinds of resources at the same time. So just try and be very quick about it. Like you start your dice pool for each skill starts with the amount of training you have in the skill, and then you can add to it, which is the source of the +1 name, with your attribute. So there's 3 attributes, and they either affect your brawn skills, your smart skills, or your gut skills. And so the more brawny you are, the better you are at all guts or brawn skills, because you've got a lot of brawn. So the D6 dice pool stuff isn't that innovative, but the card stuff, like we were talking about, it's just all kinds of different stuff. Brandon mentioned the Psychic Kids game. That's one of our favorites so far because it takes it so in an extreme direction. It was actually the original idea for the whole game was this card mechanic, because the idea is, and I think we're going to talk about Psychic Kids in a little bit, but like the idea of it is, rather than being any kind of resource at all, it is the psychic power. You have to guess what the next card on the deck is, and then if you flip it over and you're right, then your psychic power is activated. And if you're wrong, your psychic power isn't activated because you're wrong. You're not psychic. And
not psychic, exactly.
That's the way the card is used in that game is to hit that theme of the psychic stuff. So
that's cool.
The dice stuff is always staying the same because like skills and attributes are like just kind of how role-playing games work, but we want the card mechanic to always be much more thematic to the game. So like it's the humanity that you're burning your very memories, you're burning who you are in the context of war. That's never going home. That's dark. That's but then this Psychic Kids game does something completely different with cards fitting the theme for that game.
Nice.
In one thing I do want to point out, Matt, you hit on this with the how your skills represent how many dice you start with in your pool, and then your natural innate ability, your attributes represent how many times you can manipulate that die roll. Well, one of the things, and we often will talk about this when we play the game, one of our friends from a gaming group a long time ago, we were playing an old D&D game, and he said, am I smart enough to have a good idea? Because we were at a point in a puzzle where he's like, as a player, I can't outthink this, but my character's got like an IQ or an intelligence of like 18, so my character should be able to figure this out. And so one of the things we wanted to do was every skill can be done untrained. So like if you have a smarts of like 7, you can spend a point of smarts to temporarily gain a skill which you're not really trained in because you're smart enough to kind of tinker it out, right? And so that kind of stayed with us when we were originally designing the core of the +1 was, am I smart enough to have a good idea? Can I figure this out?
Very cool. Well, that helps clarify for me in thinking about the system. So the dice mechanic stays the same, and then it's really the card mechanic that's going to be unique to each system. Is there for Psychic Kids? If you have to guess the card, is there like a Bill Murray effect or something like that, where if you can kind of fudge it or get it close or cheat in some way?
It's the level of your match, it determines the thing. So and I don't have the percentages right in front of me, but it's like you're not going to be completely wrong very often. You'll either get the right color, you'll get the right suit, you'll get the right number.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Each of those is each as you get closer and closer indicates more and more control over your psychic power. And if you actually draw the card that you predicted, that's when you're totally awakened. Narrative control goes to you. You tell us how you
Oh, that's dope. That's real good.
Accomplish what you were trying to do with your power.
And at conventions, let me tell you, those tables will explode if you're like,
oh yeah, that's
Queen of Spades. You flip it over and it's Queen of Spades. Table blows up.
Yeah, that's a natural 20 on steroids.
Yeah,
right? Yeah, that's awesome. Very cool. All right, so then you have like a 50% chance, right? If you could do red or black, right?
Right. I mean,
of the lowest effect.
Yeah. So like and there's wild cards, and the jokers are in the deck, so there's a little bit of wild. So I think you will only completely fail, and I don't remember I don't remember. We put the percentages in the book, but I don't want to pull it up and look at it right now. But like, yeah, I mean, you could get 50. I mean, at least you'll get the right color 50% of the time.
Yeah.
But even if you get the wrong color, you might be in the right suit, or I guess you wouldn't be in the right suit, the right color, but you could be the right number, right? You could get, if you predicted the 8 of spades and you drew the 8 of diamonds, even though they're the wrong color, you still got an 8. So that's like better than getting a red card,
And those odds are always changing, because let's say you pull 15 black cards out of the deck. I mean, it's not really a 50-50 chance.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I do in convention games is I will actually put those cards out, and this is an optional rule in the game. We'll actually put the cards out so players can have a more informed decision.
There you go.
Oh, well, I see that there's 7 clubs out here, I'm not going to guess clubs because I'll guess a spade because there's no spades that have come out of the deck so far.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Well, we're talking about it. So
Yeah, we kind of passed over the Never Going Home.
No, that's all right. So Psychic Kids was your last Kickstarter. Tell us a little bit about how that went, how that experience was, and where Psychic Kids is in production.
So Psychic Kids, one of the things that we are really trying to lean towards, especially as someone who backs a significant amount of Kickstarters, and Matt definitely keeps his ear to the ground on the indie side and on the zine side as well, and we definitely point each other to different things that we think might interest the other or we think is a good idea. We wanted to make sure that when we fund some of our gaming products, that it's either already in flight or it's really close to being done. Some of the things, especially things that are brought to us by external designers, are maybe outliers to that. But Psychic Kids, for example, we launched that Kickstarter, and our goal was to have it in PDF format in the hands of backers by the time Kickstarter funds were deposited into our account.
Sure.
Right.
Nice.
So roughly 10 days after.
Yeah.
And so our graphic designer was working on layout. We were able to show layout examples during the Kickstarter. We had he actually was on our end of campaign live stream that we do, and he was able to pull it up and actually show examples of some of the art and layout that was going on. And not only were we able to do that, but we've done some edits and modifications based on feedback that we've gotten from those backers before we sent it to the printer. So it's right now, Psychic Kids is completely done and edited and revised, and we've got it out to backers in their Drive-Thru RPG accounts, and it's in the hands of the printer right now. So once it's turning the queue, it'll be printed. So Psychic Kids will probably not be at Origins unless a miracle happens, but it will be at Gen Con.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will you guys be at Origins?
We will be.
Great.
Yep.
Excellent. Wonderful. I
think we're in booth 215. I think that's our slot.
I was going to say it's 2 something. I may have it written down right here on my note sheet.
Yeah. So we're right there on a main thoroughfare in row 200. So
cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'll keep my fingers crossed that Psychic Kids makes it to Origins, because I'll be there, and I'm actually ending the con with a Never Going Home game. So
yes,
nice.
that's great.
So I'm really looking forward to that.
I think a lot of our games are we have Lurking Fears get together and run their games. So the great crew there, Lurking Fears, their GMs always put up some Never Going Home games for us. So
absolutely.
Well, Never Going Ham. You were almost at.
I am Never Going Ham.
That's the Morkborg game. Never Going Ham.
I mean, I don't. There's we should talk about I want to get in the story a little bit about the origins of Psychic Kids.
Oh yes,
sure.
100%.
Quickly. I'm a real big fan. I mean, they haven't run it for a couple years, but there's a thing on the RPG, the 200-word RPG challenge is a thing, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Write a RPG in only 200 words, and so the writer for Psychic Kids, Michael Brennan, he wrote a 200-word RPG that was just that card mechanic that I described. Like, how close can you get? Predict the thing. His full game was called Psychic Children on the Run from Danger, which kind of tells you everything you need to know about the game with no setting material because you only got 200 words. Those words are in the title, so they don't count. And then it basically just described the card mechanic. And like, your kids, you're running from the agents, flip the cards to do your powers, 200 words. And so this has been a while. We reached out to Michael and we're like, Michael, do you want to write like a 15,000 word version of this? And he's like, yeah, sure. So he wrote all the powers, wrote a lot more about the setting, added the +1 stuff as far as the dice rules and stuff.
And crushed him.
Oh yeah, did a great job. So like that manuscript unfortunately sat around longer than it probably should have, but like finally we got the artist and the writer matched together, and the artist did such an amazing job. And that's the question, like how did it all come together? We went to, it was actually at Origins, in 2022. We were like, we're going to take, Brandon and I are like, we're going to take the afternoon and we're going to go walk around and look at every artist in this hall, and we did, and we found,
we tend to do at almost every convention we go to.
Nice.
We try to
Yeah.
And so we found an artist and we're like, this art is great, and so we had contacts. We had a meeting after the con, like, look, I want you to do this very specific thing. I want this sort of like Olin Mills portrait mixed together with a Byzantine icon, and Sarah M.W. Miller is the artist, and she did a phenomenal job, like completely fulfilling all expectations. So she ended up doing,
too.
She did the cover, doing most of those interior art. So like for me, it was just a fantastic experience to finally get all of it right. Like we started seeing Michael's 200-word RPG, asking him to write the manuscript, getting an artist that could do a visual style like I had it in my brain, and her executing it so fantastically. And then Matthias, our layout person, putting all of it together, and he's talking about going ham. Matthias has gone ham on this Psychic Kids. It's so well made as far as like the look of all the pages and stuff like that. So it's been a joy to work on this over the last, I don't know, since, I mean, almost a year now that we've been really actively working on it, and it's almost ready. So very excited.
If I'm not mistaken, Matt, didn't we have 3 current projects in the works that are from artists that we met at that Origin? Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Nice.
That was a very talent rich artist alley. That was great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, and it's great to hear you guys gush about the art, because when I think of Wedding Games and I think of Never Going Home, I think of the art. I mean, that is what and I'm sure you guys know this, but that is what has put you on the map, right? I mean, seeing the images for Never Going Home, they're so captivating.
Yeah, very evocative.
They're very evocative, and like you instantly want to play that game.
So
like that.
One of the things that we pride ourselves on, and Matt and I use this term when talking about our company, especially with other creatives, is we want to be an art forward company. So our products, like for example, Charlie for Never Going Home, if we're ever at a convention together, Charlie can always come to our booth, and sure, he does stuff for a bunch of other companies now, but if he grabs a copy of Never Going Home or any of the stuff, we want him to be able to take that around, shop it around to other companies, and say, look, I did all of the art in this book, the cover, everything else. This is me. This is a showcase of my art. And just Mike Muma, who did all the art for Heckin' Good Doggos, same thing. We want him to be able to say, this is it. Sarah M.W. Miller, same thing. We love highlighting and focusing on an artist that we think nails the aesthetic, and we want to make a showcase piece for them. Our goal is to make these artists so busy that they can't work for us anymore. And, artists love hearing that, and as much as it's kind of a joke. I mean, seriously, these artists are not just people that we work with. Some of these people have been our friends for decades, like Mike Muma for Heckin' Good Doggos, for example. And I think this comes from the fact that, I did some internships with Palladium Books and wrote for them for a while. And Kevin Simbita started out as an artist, and he also specifically would talk to me about how to treat artists and illustrators, and I would see how that was handled. I would talk to some of these people that would illustrate the words that Matt and I would write and other people would write, and they became really close friends. And so it's one of those things where it's like, our very first game, Wild Skies, when it came out, people were like, this is your first game? Like, this looks great. And I'm like, yeah, because we knew all of the artists in that book personally, and some of them even were like, look, we'll do this art on spec, and once it's funded, you can pay us.
Sure.
Because they knew us and we had a relationship with them. We don't, that's not one of those things that we really strive for now, but it's that book punches above its weight because it has quality art in it from quality creators. And so that's something that we wanted to be consistent with as our game company grew.
Very cool.
And Matt does an excellent job keeping an eye out when we have multiple ways of communicating with each other. Hey, did you see this artist? I think they'd be good for this project, and vice versa.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, so you guys mentioned Heckin' Good Doggos. So let's talk a little bit about Free RPG Day coming up.
Oh, yeah.
What's I saw Heckin' Good Doggos has a release for Free RPG Day. Tell us about it.
I mean, well, we won't tell you too much about the content because that's to be surprised for Free RPG Day.
Sure.
But I mean, I think we can say this, Brandon. The content is basically like it is a quick start version of Heckin' Good Doggos. Cool. So it condenses everything down into just a few pages so that you can know how to play the game with just this pamphlet that you'll get at Free RPG Day. And then it gives you some characters that are already created, and then it gives you a little adventure to play with those characters. Yeah. So it is that's the three things that are in the publication. And it's stuff that basically I got to write all of it, had to, whatever you want to say. Like I'm the one who did the work to like polish down to as narrow, as small of a version of the +1 as we could make, and then to give this adventure some feel and stuff like that. So it's great. That's what we're doing, and awesome. We're really, Brandon can talk more about kind of the process of getting in on Free RPG Day, because I know for my own self, like you go to that website and you're like, oh, look, here's Goodman Games and Chaosium and Free League and our company. Like, yes,
it's awesome.
We're arriving on the scene. It feels great. It feels great.
It should. Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah, tell us more.
So Heckin' Good Doggos is a game about dogs doing dog stuff, right? It uses +1. It's family-friendly game.
Could have started with that.
Yeah, boom. It's a game about dogs doing dog stuff. And when we funded this, we had a number of adventures that were also funded as stretch goals. And if you saw us at PAX, we were kind of promoting Fetch Quests, which is Heckin' Good Doggos. It's all of those adventures and some micro settings combined into a subsequent book. And when we at Gen Con last year, I was approached by Paul Butler from the Free RPG Day, who came and spoke with me at our booth and was like, hey, is this something that you all would like to be interested in? Here's some information about it. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, if you print X number of these and get them to us at a particular time, we'll ship it out. We'll handle all of that, all the logistics. It gets to where it needs to go. And so we were talking about some of our products. Oh, we have this game. We have Never Going Home. We have this other thing. And I mentioned Heckin' Good Doggos. And Paul was like, oh, that would be great, because Heckin' Good Doggos sounds like a very accessible game for kids and families and new gamers and things like that. And maybe a quick start would be a good introduction to your system. So we chatted about that a little bit at Gen Con and a little bit after over email. And we, when after the convention, Matt and I had a debrief and said, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. It's a good opportunity for us to market to an audience or some audiences that we may not necessarily get to if they're not necessarily coordinated or interacting with Indie Press Revolution or any of our current distribution models. So Free RPG Day not only gets a product into those shops and into those locations that may not, but it also draws the attention of those eyes onto some of our other products. So
Outstanding.
Yeah, and they've been fantastic to work with, and would 100% do it again. And as Matt said, looking on that website and being like, oh, this is the company that we're keeping here by supporting this. I mean, all of those companies are excellent stand-up companies that want to support and grow the hobby, and want to do so. We think they're doing it in the right way, right? So it's good company to keep.
Very good, excellent. I'm really looking forward to the Heckin' Good Dog quick start rules. That's going to be excellent. And he said it comes with an adventure too, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Excellent.
It comes with an adventure. It is perfect bound, so it's it'll sit on your shelf just like just like any of the other Heckin' Good Doggos games. So
great, nice.
Yeah.
Very.
You can't beat the price.
Cool.
Can't beat the price. The only thing that makes me slightly sad about it is that Free RPG Day is on Origins, so like we'll be not we won't be going and getting it from our friendly local game store because we'll be in Columbus at Origins. But
I think they had a booth at PAX. Maybe they'll have a Free RPG Day booth at the convention.
Might have a booth there, but like I just mean that like I can't go to the friendly local game store and get all the Free RPG Day stuff because I'll be busy that day working.
No, I'm sweating that. I don't know what I'm going to do.
I'll go out and try to get two.
I would
you know a guy who knows a guy.
I think once it's Free RPG Day, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if this is like a could we do this? Could we just have it at the booth anyway? And like, oh, it's Free RPG Day now. You can have this one. Like
I don't know.
I'll have to ask. I'll email Paul.
I do. I mean, I do feel like the RPG gods. Like I'm at Origins and I'm playing Never Going Home and all these wonderful games. Like I shouldn't miss out. That doesn't make any sense. But yeah. So guys,
have a friend go get the game for you.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
We've talked about most of your games. There's one question though that we didn't. I want to go back to Never Going Home, and I want to go back to the Kickstarter, and I want to hear about the third book because we talked about the beginning and we talked about the end, but I know it's a 3-book. It's a 3-book
What's the
Kickstarter.
What's the and in between?
Yeah, that's right. It's the ampersand. Right?
What's the third book?
We're calling it From Beyond the Veil. And if you know the Never Going Home line at all, it'll be similar to the Book of Magic.
Okay.
Or the Book of Whispers. It's called the Book of Whispers. And which is the red one with the like levitating guy with the cow skull thing. But it'll be similar to that. So it'll be like more whisper paths. It will have adventures in it.
Yeah.
It will have
that's
the one. That's the one. And so it's supposed to be like that, except I mean, I don't know if it gets more extreme, but that's kind of the idea, is that it is sort of like the wildest ideas that our crop of writers could come up with. We're like, great, we'll put it in, so it is that's kind of the idea behind that book.
Excellent.
And not necessarily like, I mean, there's, I don't know, this different people have asked, like, it gets compared to like the Cthulhu mythos a lot, and I'm like, I'm not into I don't think Never Going Home is into the Cthulhu mythos quite, because there's certain rules that we obey that Cthulhu mythos doesn't. And one of those things is that, like, I don't want to actually meet any of the others. Like, they're on Beyond the Veil and they're corrupting humanity, but you're not going to meet the elder ones. You're not going to go through and wake up on an ice planet. And, like there's rules like that we want to keep our setting distinct from, like, a lot of the stuff that,
the others are.
If you want Cthulhu, just go to Chaosium's booth and get the Cthulhu stuff, or what Pelgrane has Cthulhu stuff, and the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society has that amazing box of like all the letters and stuff like that.
They do. It's so good.
So anyway, to keep it distinct, it's like there's no names of elder gods or anything like that in our setting. It's all sort of unknown, unknowable in a way. And so, even though it's called From Beyond the Veil, it's like the things that are corrupting you are from beyond the veil, but like they're on this side and they're corrupting you. So it's
Right.
So it's just, I don't know. That didn't really answer a question, so I apologize. But like,
I think, Matt, the thing that I really pushed hard for this book because like we mentioned earlier, there's no drought of ideas, right? There's so many, and From Beyond the Veil is one of those things where it's like people have asked a whole lot about, like, oh, well, what about this? What can we do? Is there ever going to be more whispers? Is there ever going to be this other stuff that's out there? And we wanted to be able to keep offering some of that stuff, and so From Beyond the Veil is one of those things where there's more weirdness, more stuff for players to really latch on to. Just cool things to do with corruption. That's a little different. Kind of a weird Jekyll and Hyde mechanic, which is kind of in there. And there's it kind of showcases the kind of the passion of kind of the fan community, because some of this stuff, again, this is from our creative team. However, we have so many people who tell us at conventions or on our Discord or whatever, they're like, oh, it'd be really cool if we could have something like this. It'd be really cool if we could have more whispers. It'd be really neat if we had this. So there's a hunger for that kind of stuff. And I definitely, just like how the original campaign dossiers came out of multiple requests from backers and supporters and fans, From Beyond the Veil is kind of the same way. Nice. Like, we want to give people what they're asking for, and yeah, just keep doing that.
Awesome. Well, and I mean, even cooler, I mean, two of the people that are on that same beat, like two of the people that are working on From Beyond the Veil are fans that they came to our booth and they're like, look, I signed up to run your games, and like, or they contacted us on email and like, look, I started an actual play of your game. And so we're like, great, you're top of the list next time we need new writers. So those people are now contributors to the game that they were already excited about. So it's it is in that way sort of quite a fan showcase in that way.
Yeah. Very cool. Excellent. Well, so guys, what conventions is Wet Ink Games going to be heading to this summer?
So we have our roughly our convention schedule through the entire year. So
great.
Of course, we'll be going to Origins and Gen Con and PAX Unplugged in December. Like, those are our three big ones we always go to. Matt's going to be at Fanboy Expo in Knoxville,
Tennessee. That's in July. July 7, 8, 9, I think.
And then we're also going to be going to Gamehole Con for the first time this year. We're excited about that. We have we have some friends up there in Madison and in that area, and people keep telling us that Gamehole Con is a really great convention. You should go check it out. So we're going to head up there. And then we have a local con called Nerdluvia here in Louisville, Kentucky, that we're going to go to.
Nice.
Very good.
So
did I miss any, Matt? I think that's...
No, those are the 6 that are on the books. So another one can show up, but there may be one or two more. Those are the 6 that are booked now.
Those are the 6 that are booked.
Cool. So where can people find you guys online and Wet Ink Games online?
Wet Ink Games online. That's just good to search that. Like, we got wetinkgames.com. We are Wet Ink Games on pretty much all of the socials. We have a YouTube channel where I conduct a bunch of interviews with our collaborators. We've got, Brandon mentioned Discord. We got Twitter, we got Instagram, we got Facebook. Like, it's just Wet Ink Games at all those places. And then for getting hold of our books, it's Drive Through RPG. They're all there. And then Indie Press Revolution, you can get the same offset print run copies that we sell at conventions. So that's a bunch of places. Boom, 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 boom.
I'd also like to point out that you could also follow us on Kickstarter.
That's true.
To be alerted to whenever we do a Kickstarter project.
Or specifically follow the beginning and the end Kickstarter.
Yeah, which you can find links to on our on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff as well.
Oh yeah. Well, the Never Going Home, the beginning and the end Kickstarter is as close to an Insta back as I can even think of. So I can't wait for it to launch. I'm so glad that we were able to connect and get together and share some thoughts. And I will be at Origins, and I can't wait to see you guys and to play some Never Going Home. And it was great to.
It'll be great.
Great to connect.
Well, great. One thing that I do before we log off, if you don't mind, I do want to point out that for those people who may be hearing of Never Going Home for the first time here on your show, we will be offering all of the books that currently exist and all the new material, a new boxed set of dice. It'll be in a clamshell, and a new version of the card deck that was in the original Kickstarter, which some people may not necessarily have access to. So we'll have that stuff for people who are new to the game, because we want people to be able to, like Matt said early on, we make dice and cards for almost all of our games. We want people to have those. So yeah, please check it out, and we look forward to it.
Great. Guys, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us on the show.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Well, it was great to talk to Wet Ink Games. I'm really looking forward to their Kickstarter. Never Going Home is a game that's been sort of on our radar for a little while. You played it last year.
Yep.
I really, really enjoy the art of that game, and it's really nice to see this company sort of getting their legs underneath them and really getting the sort of attention that they deserve.
Wet Ink is the game company to watch, everybody.
Yeah. Let us know down in the comments if you've ever played or have backed any of their Kickstarters, played any of their games. You can also send us a line over at everyeditionrpg@gmail.com. You can also find links to our socials and places to listen to the podcast at everyeditionrpg.com. And of course, if you haven't subscribed, please help us beat the YouTube algorithm. It's been a monster lately.
Yeah. Well, we're about to hit 1,000 subscribers, and when we do, hopefully we're going to have our second live stream event to celebrate hitting 1,000 subs. So at this point, I think we're about 20 away.
That's so close. That's unreasonable.
So get your grandma to sign up, and then we can have a live stream.
Thinking about being close to 1,000 people have subscribed, that number just is insane to me.
Yeah.
I can't fathom 1,000 people.
Yeah, no, we appreciate every single one of you that listens and follows the show, and thanks a lot.
It's time to loot the body. On today's Loot the Body, we are taking a look at Green Dawn Mall, a game of strange exploration by Tome Martin, who is an independent game developer, who you can find on itch.io.
Absolutely. You know I love malls.
Yeah.
As a child of the 80s.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time in malls, and it struck me a couple years ago that the map of a mall would make a great dungeon.
Yep.
And so a lot of people have run with that idea. Green Dawn Mall for me it was a blind purchase because it was a role-playing game that involved malls, and that is a niche that I will blind buy something and check it out. But boy, am I glad I did. So Green Dawn Mall is awesome. It is rules light. It uses lots of randomly rolling charts. It's everything I love in a role-playing game.
Set in the 80s?
It's set in the 80s. Come on. It's great.
What more could you want?
What more could I want? So the basic idea behind Green Dawn Mall is there's this sentient, ever-growing mall that's sort of in its own pocket dimension, and it's kind of gone evil, right? It's kind of gone wrong. And every mall is connected to the Green Dawn Mall, and you can suddenly find yourself there, right?
Trying to go to the bathroom.
Right. You go down the wrong hallway in a mall or enter a shop or a changing room, and all of a sudden you come out in a different location. The plot, though, of this game, and the reason why it works, is because you are a group of teenagers who has lost their friend in the Green Dawn Mall, and you are trying to find your friend. So that's what continues to propel you forward on your exploration, right, of the mall. Now, what's awesome about this game is you can just randomly roll your dungeon mall, right, using this book. And there's a D66 table of 36 different stores that you can randomly roll, and then each store has 2 charts, one for random NPCs and one for a random oddity that will be there. So even if you, for some reason, roll and roll up the same store, it's never going to be the same store twice.
Super low chance of being the same store.
So what that means is not only can your dungeon go on forever, but this has incredible replayability.
Yep.
So you could play as a different character looking for a different person who happens to go into the mall. And it's just fantastic. The basic game mechanic is you succeed on a 5 or a 6. You only use a D6 in this game, right? So super simple. Your character has 3 stats: personality, favorite subject in school, and a hobby. Anytime that you can connect something that you're trying to do to one of your stats, your personality, your favorite subject, or your hobby, you get an extra D6 for your attempt. If somebody helps you, one of your friends, you get an extra D6. You can't exceed 4 D6. That's the maximum number of D6 you can have for any attempted action. And a 5 or a 6 on any one of the dice is a success. You don't need to succeed more than once.
Sure.
No math. You're just looking for a 5 or 6. Reminiscent of some other games, kind of like Never Going Home. Rules light, like a Mork board kind of thing, or like a Free League game where you the same thing, using D6 and looking for specific things. So it's right in the pocket of those kind of games. The other thing I really liked about it was I did see how you could use the +1 system from Wet Ink Games, or you could use Morkborg, or you could use Dark Places and Demogorgons. Any of those games, this easily would convert, right?
Very easy
to one of those games. So if you want to play, a dungeon mall, and the other cool thing is the Green Dawn Mall is a mall in the 80s. Mm-hmm. So you're a modern kid who was transported back to a mall in the 80s, right? So the Green Dawn Mall is stuck in time. Right.
I don't have any quarters for these payphones.
The other thing that's cool about this world is within the mall there are different factions that are sort of at war with each other that you could become swept up in or end up fighting against. There's the Mannequins for Freedom, which are sentient mannequins that are trying to get out of the mall. There's the Collectors, which are like the group of evil nerds that are in the mall. And then there's the Council of Objects, which is a group of, I think, sentient, like, appliances.
Beauty and the Beast.
And so right, exactly. Yeah, they're like the characters from Beauty and the Beast. And so you've got all these different, there's a couple other factions too, but these different factions that you can interact with that are at war with each other and may help you or may be against you. But again, you keep moving forward, looking for your friend. And on the very first page or second page, right at the beginning, there's a chart for where your friend is. So you can roll a D6 and, and that could be kept secret, obviously. And then you kind of know. So even where your friend is located is a variable within the game that you can randomize here. So seems like it would be amazing for a one-shot. There are a couple pages in the back on running a campaign. But I could see it being an annual game.
Yeah.
Where you play a really good one shot and then you take a break from it and then bring it back to the table and do it again with different characters and a different feel and setting and stuff. But can't recommend it enough. It's been a great read, and I really do want to quickly bring it to the table because it seems like it's easy to bring to the table, and it hits so many things I love. So check out Green Dawn Mall. It's available on itch.io. It's available on DriveThruRPG as PDFs, and I believe you can find the physical copy of it's a soft cover. I believe you can find that at Exalted Funeral.
Oh, sure.
And a couple other places, maybe Noble Knight, that kind of stuff. But it's around. Look, and you won't regret it.
Well, it was really great to talk to Matt and Brandon. The last couple episodes have been all interview packed. This one, high among the interviews that we've done. I really enjoy the art and the graphic design that Wet Ink Games implements in their games. Really excited for Free RPG Day. Going to pick up the little play test or sort of starter pack, I guess, for Heckin' Good Doggos.
Yes,
really
please.
interested in that. And
grab 2.
yeah. I'm interested in seeing what they do in the future. They seem like they've got a good track record so far, and they're going places.
One to keep your eye on. Yeah.
Well, thanks again for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. You can also check out our website, everyeditionrpg.com, where you'll find links to all of our socials and places you can watch or listen to the podcast.
Thanks a lot.
Nice.
And keep that little laugh in there, too.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody watches all the way to the end, but eventually there'll be like one comment.
And thanks.